Hey everybody, welcome to Countryside Acres. I am Arend Feenstra. Today we are going to do something a little different. We're not going to go out and about. We're actually going to sit right here and we are going to be doing an interview with the expat American, Joseph Rose, right here on this channel. Welcome to Countryside Acres, Joe.
Thanks for having me on, bud. It's good to finally talk to you.
That's
although
right.
We haven't breathed the same air yet.
So we've talked lots. Just on Telegram basically over the last year. I think it's almost a year.
Yeah, almost a year. I think Balkovsky introduced us.
That's right. Yeah. I got to get him on here yet sometime too. So yeah. I was hoping to do this in person someday. It would be nice to, maybe down in the future we'll get around to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to twist your arm so you'll come to Moscow.
We'll do it. We'll do it. You'll have to show me around there a little bit. So first of all, can you tell everybody who you are? Where'd you come from?
Yeah, definitely. I am from small town Florida. So believe it or not, if you think you know me, I was raised a country boy. A month didn't go by where I didn't have a drill or a shovel in my hand. And then when I became an adult, I lived in the big city in New York City and in Hollywood, California. And I trained myself out of my country accent. I thought about doing it here today, but I'm not going to. Because if I do it, I might not stop. And then
it's addictive, isn't it?
When I started having kids, I moved back to small town Florida, and I raised my 5 kids in small town Florida. But the last 2 years, I'm back in the big city in Moscow.
So why did you move back?
Why did I move back to the big city? I mean, it's just a coincidence. It wasn't my plan. Or you mean, why did I live in Florida? My wife is Russian, and she was homesick. I guess, first off, I were to rewind, I was comfortable in small town places because that's where I grew up. But I was a young adult. I wanted an exciting life. I lived in the big cities. But then when I became a father, it was on my heart to raise my kids, a certain way, maybe the way I was raised, and to have that traditional family lifestyle. So that's why I went back to, small town Florida, specifically Tallahassee, Florida. But after 9 years there with my wife, she, who is Russian, was missing Russia. And so we decided to take a turn and move to Moscow.
Okay. What did your friends back home think about that?
We came.
Loaded question.
We came 8 days before the special military operation. So Americans would already be skeptical of their friend moving to Russia just because of what Hollywood has trained them to think. So it did not help that we came here, and then the special military operation happened, and then sanctions happened, and then the American embassy was saying you need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave. So a lot of my friends were messaging me that I needed to come back, and I did not. And I kept telling them everything's fine. Yes, the news sounds scary, but on the street here, it's fine. Sadly, a lot of them just stopped communicating with me, because they can't hear it. They can't understand it. It doesn't process for them. I understand, you spend your whole life being taught a certain thing about a certain place, and then you hear scary news that matches your belief system, and it's easier to go with that than to just believe what Joe Rose is saying. Even though it is sad because, a person and you're going to believe, a news story over what they're saying.
Yeah, well, we found that before, that anybody with a title, if it's a doctor, he obviously knows more about medicine than you do. If it's anything, doesn't matter what it is. And people fail to understand that doctor is only as good as the textbook he's read, and that news anchor is only as good as the information he gets, right? Yeah. But because it's on the news, it's a trusted source, and we have to believe it, right? So I think the last 2-3 years, a lot of people have opened their eyes more to alternative sources and recognize that what they're told is not always the truth, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
while we're on that line of thinking, how is it here? Has it been safe for you? Has it been risky? Do you feel threatened? Are you being dragged off to the army, as I've been warned so many times is going to happen to me?
No, not at all. I mean, I've been married to my wife for I think 11 years now. So I vacationed in Russia a lot. So I knew ahead of time where I was going and I was not
Yeah.
afraid. The first time I came here as a tourist, when I was going to meet my future wife, I was concerned then. I was afraid. But what I had been taught and what I saw with my eyes was not matching up. I mean, the police here are completely safe and they're here to help you and they're not something to be afraid of,
Okay.
and there's like no crime that you can see. Now, I know if you look at statistics, there is crime, just like any place. But as far as having a crime committed against you by a random stranger, I have never even come close to seeing anything like that.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I have a daughter here, and she takes the metro by herself to university, and I have no fear for her. I mean, I grew up thinking a big city had to be a scary place, and in Moscow, where I am, it's not.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people living in Moscow. What about in the movies? You get that creepy van that drives by. It's kind of gray and dark. It drives by, and the door slides open, and some guys grab you and throw you in the van. That hasn't happened to you yet?
No, that has not happened to me yet.
Not even once.
But it's a good you brought that up, because I think most Westerners, their impression of Russia is nothing or what they get from Hollywood movies.
That's right.
And it's sad because it's, yeah, it might be a fun movie, but it's just not true. It's not what's happening now. I mean,
That's
maybe
right.
it never was. I don't know,
Yep, that's what I learned from years of watching RT News or reading it, I guess, and just starting to talk to Russian people, even that were living in Canada. Same thing, you get this different idea, and it's not what you're told. And I think Hollywood has done an excellent job of portraying Russia in a very negative light, right? Pretending it's still the Soviet Union, for one. I'm actually blown away by the amount of people that think I moved to a communist country. And they don't
Yeah.
realize that communism ended in 91. It hasn't been a communist country. They even said that about Georgia when I was going to Georgia. That's a communist country, isn't it? No, it hasn't been for years. People don't know. And yeah, I guess
Absolutely.
Hollywood's done a really good job of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
portraying it.
talk to like American businessmen, to educate people in America. One guy asked me, "Do they have mobile phones in Russia?" I talked to another business associate.
Still a can with a string over here, right?
Yeah, right. I talked to another business associate, and their impression was this is where terrorists come from. I mean, it's just the information that people have is just so incorrect, And these are not people that are teasing or being mean. They're sincere, and they were sincerely asking me. It's strange.
Yep, it is. I gave up telling people. I mean, some people I'll still tell, but like even family, close people, you can't tell them. Like you said, the media does a great job of it, and they see it on the TV. They're going to believe that over you. And so I decided that I'm going to stop telling people how good it is. They can just watch the videos. They can see for themselves. If in 6 months I'm still not in jail, then hey, it must not be that bad, right? So, and then obviously through this will hopefully help. They can, talk to you. How long have you been here now?
So we came here 8 days before the special military operation. So it still feels relatively fresh for me. And like you, we're making the videos, and I'm telling people watch the videos, and that's why I try to make the videos exciting and fun and interesting, because I'm competing against kitty cat videos, and I want the truth to get out to the West that Russia is a normal place, and that's also why I try and do fewer shows like this. I do these shows when I want to talk to someone who's not living near me in Russia. But aside from that, I like to be out on the street, like actually showing it, because it's hard to argue with what people see. I can tell you Russia's great, but if I show you, that's even better.
Okay, so while we're on that subject, then maybe tell everybody your YouTube channel here.
Oh, sure, yeah. So the name of the channel is EXPAT American. And like I said, I was a country boy in Florida, and then I was a big city guy working in the movie business in Hollywood, California. And I came here because it was a cheaper place to send my 3 adult children to university, and it was time for one of my younger children to go to grade school. So we weren't fleeing from America. We hope America does well. We like the idea of America. We think America's having a hard time right now. But when we got here and the new Cold War began, I was sick. I was concerned. Did I make a mistake? But we have been completely safe. And then I realized I'm a guy who knows how to make movies, who is an American, who is here in Russia at this odd time in history where there's a new Cold War. I can get out my phone. I can make videos. I can make them cool. People will watch them. And maybe I can do my part to bring about peace quicker and make the world a better place.
Bring the two sides together.
Exactly.
Yeah. So our focus is, we started YouTube actually just to share videos. I think I shared on your channel there that we used to live in Saskatchewan. All our family was in Ontario. And so to send videos back to family members, mostly my mother-in-law, you can only send certain length videos through, WhatsApp or Telegram, whatever it is. And so she encouraged us to start YouTube. I actually had no desire to do YouTube. We were very private people, and that's where it began. So, but our focus has been mostly on agricultural related stuff. Obviously, I'm a farmer, I'm a carpenter, and that's what we focus on. For you, not so much farming stuff. What are you focused on your channel?
Well, I'm in Moscow, so I'm in a big international city, and so a lot of it is me going out on the street and showing people just everyday life in Moscow. I've got a lot of kids like you, not as many. I've only got 5. But so it is a family show like yours, but it's in Moscow instead of further out into Russia. And, we're just, we're covering different topics. I've gotten to speak at different, I spoke in Russian Parliament and different conferences, and we're trying to help Russia be more accommodating for people like you and I, Westerners with traditional family values that want to come to Russia. So we want to help break down those barriers because Russia is concerned. They don't want Westerners coming that are going to try and change their culture or damage their country.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Every country should be concerned of that.
Yeah, but at the same time, Russia does need more people. So our message is to the West, hey, look, Russia is a traditional family values place. It's a good place. They're not the bad guys. We do not need to have a Cold War with these people. And the primary hope is that Westerners would see this, they would learn this, and they'd put pressure on their governments to lay off of Russia. But the secondary hope, if that doesn't happen, is Westerners that are for traditional family values that are living in the West that are thinking, my country's crazy, what's going on, everything's falling apart. They might want to move here. They might want to live here. And Russia needs more people anyway. So it could be a win-win. And I think there's a lot of people like you and I that don't even know that there's this great, strong country for traditional family values. They think that this country is the bad guy place. And they've been lied to by Hollywood, by the media, by DC.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a lot of people in my sphere, and not YouTube, just in my personal sphere of influence, that are looking for other options. But then, they're like, well, there is no other option. What else are you going to do, right? Or, it's the end of the world. We're all going to get it wherever we are. And they just don't see Russia. It's not even considered. Like you said, because of the media, I believe, it's not considered an option. And maybe that's why there's such a media barrage in the last number of years of bad information about Russia, because it is a better option, right? And the West is trying to desperately cling on to its ideologies and paint everything else as bad. It could be part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's our hope as well.
Again, I don't hate the West. I want the West to do well, but I do think the West is experimenting with this idea, what if we didn't have traditional family values? Maybe we don't need it. Maybe we could live without it. I think that's the experiment they're running. I think they're wrong. I think it's destroying them. I hope they figure it out and get it back together. But, there we go. So
traditionally, from a historical standpoint, again, I find people really have to hit rock bottom before it turns around. And I feel like, at least in Canada, I feel like it's not at the bottom yet. It's still going. And that was one of the reasons why we were, for our children's sake, interested in leaving, because it's going to get a lot worse yet, I believe. And, do you stay or do you go? I guess everybody's got to make the decision. I want to touch on that one a little bit later yet, I guess.
Yeah,
I was wondering if you were shocked, coming here. Obviously, you're married to a Russian, so you would have had some insights, but were you shocked coming here? The differences between Florida, Russia, obviously climate, I'm assuming would be a big difference for you. No alligators running around here.
Yeah, I miss those alligators.
Yeah.
If only I could have the fear of being eaten alive by an alligator or a shark. I don't have that anymore.
No.
Well, I mean, I was shocked, but not for the differences. I was shocked for the similarities, how similar everything is. I mean, yes, I was coming from small town Florida, so it's warm, it's small, it's spread out. You definitely have to have a car, or ideally a pickup truck. And now I'm in big city Russia where it's cold. So there are obvious differences, but I was expecting those differences. So the shock for me was the similarities, because, you know, all I really knew, like I said before, is Hollywood movies. And I didn't really think about Russia, but if I did, it was a very small thumbnail of what Russia is, and that is just a cold, dark, scary place full of bad guys. I did not think that Russia is a place that has pretty much normal temperatures 7 months out of the year, with lots of families, lots of houses and buildings and gas stations and grocery stores and post offices and traffic lights and food and recycle bins. They have everything that the West has. It's all completely normal, and people living mostly normal lives. And I think that if you watch your videos of mine, and if you think that, and if everyone knows that, it would be very hard for DC and the West to carry on this campaign that these are the bad guys, we have to be at war with these guys. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, ordinary citizens living ordinary lives, right? So, for the most part. You spend most of your time in Moscow, though. I know some of your videos you have gone out of the city, you have seen other areas, so your opinions are not just based on Moscow. Like I've been told before that Moscow is kind of the crown jewel. It looks a lot nicer, and the rest of the country is kind of dilapidated. Same thing you hear when people go to Cuba, right? The resort is beautiful, but if you step outside of that, it's bad. What's your experience there?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that, because I do think there are a lot of Russians that appear in the comments I get to be bitter about Moscow. And you'll get this comment a lot on your channel as you progress. Moscow is not Russia. You know, if you ever do anything about Moscow. And I sympathize if you are poor and if you're living in a poor area. You know, I don't want to take away your feelings on this. But from what I can see, because I do live in Moscow, like you said, but I have traveled and made videos in other parts of Russia, still on the west side. You know, I haven't gone further out, but I've gotten a good jumping around the west of Russia. And I don't see anything that I wouldn't see in America. There are poor places in Russia. There are poor places in America. And I got a statistic recently that 26% of the Russian population lives in rural areas. Now, I've been to Moscow, I've been to St. Petersburg, I've been to Voronezh, which is a population of 1 million. I've been to other small towns, and they are all nice. They're all well taken care of. Now, I have traveled through areas that I haven't stayed in where I've noticed, yes, there are poor areas here. But my point is, you know, to say only Moscow and some other big cities are nice, and it makes it sound like just a few people are living well and the rest of the country is suffering. Well, if only 26% of the population is in rural areas, let's say half of them are living poor. That's 13% of the population. You know, no one wants that to happen, of course, but that's not a crazy number that says Russia's a terrible place. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think people are ignoring the fact that it's at home. Again, you paint it over there. We spent, prior to coming to Georgia, and prior to coming here, we were in Tbilisi, Georgia, and prior to that, we were traveling through the States for about 3 months. And we seen it there too. People living in their cars. The amount of people that I talked to that were working 2 jobs just to try to make basic ends meet. They weren't living high on the hog. The poverty is there as well. It's represented everywhere. It's just not documented. Right? They don't focus on it in the West because that would make us look bad. We're going to focus on it in some other country and show you that it's bad there.
Yeah, exactly.
Misrepresentation for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, there was a statistics that I quote often. I forget the exact number now, but I know it was north of 60% of Canadians cannot afford the debts that they currently have.
Wow.
Meaning that they borrow more money every year just to make, to stay at the status quo. There's no hope in that. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And if you can't find a better job to help pay for those bills, you have two options. Either you need to make more money, or you need to spend less, right? So with
Yeah.
taxes increasing, now we've got carbon tax in Canada as well. It's on top of our heating bills that were already bad enough. It creates for desperation. But they don't
Right.
report that at home, right? So that's not a popular thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think you covered this already. I was going to ask your reason for moving and how well your children adapted. You did touch on it a little bit, but maybe you can go in a little more depth on the children.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, we weren't fleeing from America. It just was a coincidence. We didn't run here because we thought America was terrible. We did stay, though, because we think America's not doing that well. We have 5 children. 3 are adults. 2 are normal age. But my oldest, he's 23. He's an English tutor now. Then my wife has a son from a previous marriage, and I have a daughter from a previous marriage, and they are 19, both of them. So we made our own set of twins, and they're in university. One's at
Yep.
MWU, my daughter, and my wife's son is at Bauman. And for my 23-year-old son and her son, they are not really political. They think the West is cool. They think Russia's cool. They're like, whatever. My daughter is more like you and I. Like, she's ready to spend the rest of her life here. She loves Russia. She's all for it. She feels like Russia is Europe, and she's just living in a wonderful place with good values and good culture.
A lot more culture, yeah.
Yeah, my other 2 kids are 5 and 8, so who cares what they think? No, but we actually timed our move because the 8-year-old, he was 6 at the time, he was going to be due for public school in Russia. So, that kind of helped us, take the jump, so to speak. Because if we had done it another time, let's say he was 1.5 years or 2 years into public school in America, it would have been a lot of stress on him he just didn't need to experience. We realized, okay, he's going to be going to grade school soon anyway, and our other 3 are going to be in university at the same time. At that time, they were. Let's do this now. Let's save money, and let's take a turn in Russia. That was the idea, that we'd be here for 5 or 10 years. We didn't know things were going to change, and now we're of the mindset that we're here for good.
Yeah, why leave? Yeah. So you have a real unique perspective because you're in your late 40s, correct?
49. Yes.
49.
That is the
So
late
very,
40s.
very
About
late.
to be worse than that.
Yeah, you're very late 40s. You can stay at 49 and holding for a while. I'm told that's legit. So, but then,
No, I'm glad, because my philosophy is, what's the alternative?
Yeah, well, it kind of goes downhill. I'm the youngest of 10 children, so my oldest brother is 52. He'll be turning 53 here. So I'm always kind of poking fun at the older guys because they're always older than me, right? So, but yeah, you have a unique perspective of being anywhere from 49 all the way down to 5. You said your youngest was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that gives you kind of a real open. I am 39.
Oh,
my
okay.
wife and I are both 39. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
cool.
Still young.
Yeah, man.
Feeling old some days. I think the last 3-4 years have kind of put a toll on a lot of people. It's been a lot to think about.
Yeah, but I think you exercise, eat right, sleep right. There's a lot within your control. When you're young and you're not feeling well and you're unhealthy, you tell yourself, "Oh, I need to do more. I'm unhealthy." When you're old, and you don't feel well, you say, "Well, I'm old." Well, are you really old? Maybe you just need to.
A lot of it's between the years. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any regrets about moving? Is there ever a time where you consider you should go back home or you should have stayed?
So when I first got here and then the special military operation happened, I did feel a little bit ill, and I did wonder, did we make a mistake? And it's an interesting question because, I don't think that now. I'm glad we stayed. I'm glad we didn't flee. A lot of people did. I mean, it's funny because the Westerners were running away right after we got here. But no, I am not sorry. I do not regret it. I remember being 45 in Florida and being successful and thinking, is this it? I'm just going to grow old and die now. Or does my life have some other purpose? You know?
Absolutely.
And we moved here, and I didn't really have much of a plan for what I was going to do. And then it looked like the end of the world was coming, and I felt ill. Did I make a mistake? And then I decided to start the channel, which I never would have started had these terrible times hadn't happened. But now it has given me a chance to speak to the world and promote traditional family values and hopefully make a difference. So I was thinking about this. Even if the worst case scenario happened for me and NATO tanks were rolling down the streets of Moscow, I don't think I would say I made a mistake. I think that I have done the right thing according to my morals.
Oh, that's important. Yep. We all gotta act on what we feel is best at the time, I guess. I can kind of relate because I've only been here 2.5 weeks, but the first couple of days I think I was kind of naive. Coming to Georgia, I was told nobody speaks English, and basically everybody spoke English. So it was very easy to navigate there between Google Translate and everyone knowing broken English. It was no problem. Coming here, it became quickly apparent that I only know one guy that knows English in my area here, and no one else does. I actually, I think it was day 2, I went to the pharmacy, and the pharmacist apologized for not even knowing the basics of English. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd. I'm the one in Russia. I mean, I should be the one apologizing, right? Not her. But then I really started thinking, oh boy, what did we get into, right? Like, we're never going to figure this out, and it just kind of crept in. But I'm past that now. I am. So, what advice would you give, or could you give to others that might be thinking, watching this and thinking about moving?
I would say 2 things: learn the language and get a visa. Now, I wouldn't be anxious about learning the language. I would just get on some app that's going to help you figure out the alphabet first, and then start working on little words. And I'd do 5 or 10 minutes a day. And if that's going well and you have the money and time, I would start doing 2 online sessions a week with somebody. And then as far as getting a visa, I would get it as soon as you can, while you can, because we don't know how the world might change. If you're in the US, you can get a 3-year tourist visa, and you can have that at the ready. And I would take a long vacation here as long as you can to come check it out and see what you think of this place. Don't just watch your videos and mine and then move here. Come take a look around and see that what we're saying is true and decide if it'd be a good fit for you.
Yep, makes sense. We're actually unique that way. I never visited Russia ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never been here. A lot of people recommended just come here for a holiday. I'm like, listen, I don't see any other option. I done a lot of homework, obviously, prior and watched videos and things like that, including yours. But I just knew it was the place to be. I don't know how to explain that exactly. We just felt it was the right move. It was what God wanted for our family, and there really was no other option. So we just sold everything and came. That's not for everybody. I do recommend maybe coming for a holiday and having a look first. Yeah. You came as a holiday first, or you're unique again. Your wife was from here, but
yeah, I came to meet Svetlana, my wife. She was not my wife at the time. She wasn't even my girlfriend. But I went to London first and hung out there for a few days, and then went to see her. I didn't want to pay money just to go see a girl.
There you go.
But that was like a Thanksgiving weekend, and it went well. So I asked her to be my girlfriend, and then the next time I came
here in Russia at the time.
Yeah, in Moscow.
Yep.
Then the next time I came, we were married, and we came for a month. And from then on, we came roughly every 2.5 years so that we could see different seasons. And we would come for about a month at a time.
Yep. So you really, you had a definitely an idea of what you're getting into coming here.
Yeah. Whereas you just watched my show and said, wow, I'm moving to Russia because of Joe's videos. Okay.
Well, honestly, it's not much different than back home. I have not been shocked at all yet. We haven't been out of the city, but like I told you, it looks like home. So it's a lot easier than going to some country you've never heard of. I know people who have been down to South American countries who came back because it was just such a shock. It was so different, right? And here it's at least that part's eliminated. But I still have a long way to go on the language as well. We've been using Duolingo, and we have a bunch of Russian English books here. Hopefully we'll pick it up. I'm hoping the kids will pick it up, and they'll speak it at home, and then that'll help me pick it up as well.
Right.
Okay, last question I had for you.
Please.
Is I have had this comment a few times on YouTube that I abandoned my post in Canada, that if Canada is failing so badly, then I have a duty as a citizen to stay there and fight for change. And so I have left my post. And I wonder if you've ever been accused of that and what you respond to that.
That has weighed on my heart and on my mind. I don't think anyone's ever posed it to me, but I have thought deeply about this. To be all serious here, and what that question really is are you a traitor? You know, if we want to push it to the limit. And I think that that's something that cannot be ignored. And I think that, not you, but just in general, me. I think that if you have no children and you have been fond of the historical West and this idea of freedom and the founding fathers, I think you probably should stay, and you should, within the bounds of the law, do whatever you can to make change and stand with your country and improve your country. And I hope some people do, because I want the West to do well. But if you have children that are growing up, I think I made the right decision, because I'm alive now. I'm in my prime now. My kids are growing up now. My youngest is 5. In 10 years, his course will be set. I want him in an environment where he learns about traditional family values, where everyone's pointed in the same direction and they believe the same things. And I can't wait 50 years for the West to stop experimenting and figure things out. I can't wait 20 years. I'm 49. Statistically, I'll be dead in 29 years. And I need a place to raise my family now, where if I'm putting my family first, that means I had to leave my country.
That's right.
But yeah, I don't take the question lightly. It's a serious question, and I'm still open-minded on it. So.
Something we wrestled with a lot as well, but the children and their future, both religiously and economically, has to come first before our own. And like you said, if it was just my wife and I, we would have stayed in Canada. We had a great farm. It was profitable. We loved where we lived. We built, a custom home. I don't know if you watched that last video or not, but we built it exactly how we wanted it. Everything was perfect.
Fantastic.
But the future wasn't perfect. And to be able to provide that for them, we have to lay down self and make a selfless decision sometimes, right? So it's not always easy. But,
yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you doing this with me. It's been great. I've never done anything like this before, but it's been great chatting with you and getting a perspective from someone who has come from a similar background as me and has come here to Russia. And obviously, you've been here for quite a few years, so you are quote unquote an expert on being here.
Well, dude, thanks so much for having me. And I want your people who like you, obviously, because they're watching this video, to come over and see you on my channel. Yep. Right now. So
again,
I'll ask
go
you some
to
questions.
EXPAT American and see Joe Rose there. Watch his videos, see what he's doing. You get a totally different perspective than what we're doing. We're focused more on farming and countryside, and he's got more things. What do you want to call it? Not entertainment, but more city stuff. Focus more on that. You also do interviews with other people, right? It is. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's not what I meant. But, and then you also talk to a lot more people that have come here, right? I know you've had Americans on your show. You've had Australian. You had Justin on your thing.
Yeah. A lot of part of it's an immigration focus for sure. Definitely.
Yep. So there's a lot of good content, good information as far as moving here and what it's like here. So.
Dude, thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I look forward to doing this in person, continuing on. Maybe we'll stroll the streets of Moscow sometime, or you can show me the subway system. So
we'll have a good time.
Awesome. Okay, well, take care.
All right, before you take off, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe, and then head on over to the EXPAT American and watch the interview that he did with me over there. And see me in the hot seat. All right, God bless you guys. We'll catch you all in the next one.
Hey everybody, whoa, just took the camera. That's a great start. Alright, well there you go. Better not do that. What's his name? Joseph Rose? I think so. Hello, this is Arend, checking the audio and wondering how well it's going.
See the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. get